Things are so much. Y'all have left no room for me. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here this morning and to facilitate my being able to speak to Barbadians today. I've just completed this morning a briefing from my Minister of Health and with the Chief Medical Officer and the rest of his team. And I regret to have to advise Barbadians that there have been further developments with respect to the virus and the test results. As of midday today, there are 3 new cases that have been confirmed, 2 for Barbados and 1 which we facilitated for a cruise line. The first case today was the spouse of the visiting female who was one of the first 2 people to be tested and found positive 2 days ago. The gentleman, I'm told, never left her side and was in isolation with her even when she went into isolation as soon as the testing was done. It's therefore no surprise to the medical officials that he has tested positive. The second new case was that of a 60-year-old Barbadian who arrived on the weekend, I'm told, from New York and who developed symptoms soon after arriving in Barbados. We had been monitoring him for a few days and he also has tested positive. The third individual is a request from the cruise lines, one who has never lived in Barbados and in fact has never been to Barbados. I'm told that he was in isolation from the time that they started to feel bad, and the cruise line asked us if we would facilitate the testing of him in order that they may take the appropriate precautions. In all 3 instances, we have acted in a manner, as I've told you, that we will continue to speak to the Barbadian public and to share the information as we receive it. With respect to the first 2 cases, there is a significant amount of contact tracing that is still being done, particularly with the Barbadian who came in on the weekend, and it is too early for the medical officials to advise us as to the results of that contact tracing. They have advised me, however, that they have tested the other Barbadian who was tested first, and the contact tracing with her family has suggested that they should also be able to have results later this afternoon with respect to her husband and 2 children. The good news being that she literally did not go anywhere once she landed. With respect to the cruise ship, this morning I gave instructions that there is to be no shore leave, and the chairman of the port is here with us. And I also gave instructions that we will continue to facilitate the persons who are disembarking the ships to go to the Grantley Adams International Airport only in order to be able to take their flights out. I've been advised by the port that the last flight for those persons will leave on Sunday, and with respect to the rest who remain as crew, as I said earlier, there will be no shore leave. We have an obligation to these ships call Barbados home, and there is a legal and contractual and moral and ethical and humanitarian obligation that we have. I will say to you that we did receive a request, for example, last week with respect to being able to test for 5 or 6 cases, I can't remember now, on board one ship. And we refused. And we refused then because we did not believe that we had the capacity, because we had not yet stood up our Defense Force Field Hospital. We only had the limited beds at Enmore at the time, and we believed that it was too many for us to take at once. We acceded to the request yesterday to be able to test this single person, crew member, and regrettably, that test, as I just said to you, was positive with respect to him. We have also taken a decision, given the fact that these cases that have presented themselves with Barbadians have come from New York, that any persons arriving from the USA, from the United Kingdom or Europe will have to quarantine or self-quarantine if they are Barbadian for 14 days going forward. This morning, we spoke to JetBlue and American Airlines, and in both instances, we indicated what we would be taking and that this self-quarantine and quarantine arrangements will be for all persons arriving from Sunday, the 22nd of March. That is to allow people to be able to plan out their business. As you know, you can't announce now for now because you're dealing with the movement of people to and from Barbadians coming home, as well as persons who are already on island who are choosing to leave the country. Against that background, we anticipate, as we have already been in discussions with them, that there will be a continued reduction of services. I think after the 7th of May, American Airlines will probably not, after the next week, they will not be flying until early May again. The Minister of Tourism will give further details in the next few days, but we anticipate that there will be a significant reduction in services. We were already advised with respect to Canada, and we know that WestJet had finished, and that we have, WestJet finishes on Saturday, and Air Canada will finish within 10 days or so. So that the bottom line is that we do not anticipate that there will be significant numbers at the airport. Why are we not closing it completely? Because at the end of the day, this country still needs to be able to have access to the international world, whether it is for emergency supplies, medical, emergency parts, various other things. But we anticipate that the level of flights coming in and out of Grantley Adams International Airport will significantly reduce going forward. Yesterday, I met with members of the private sector and the union movement, from hoteliers down to taxi drivers, from PSV operators to commercial retailers and supermarket owners, from persons generally who are managers or owners of capital in this country, to vendors as well, Barvin. We met with a wide cross-section of the private sector and all of the representatives of the union movement, and I am happy to report that for the most part we understand the difficulties. Their view overwhelmingly, 90%, was that we should not shut our borders fully. Shutting our borders fully has implications for the movement of cargo and has implications ultimately for the movement of people. But having said that, we anticipate a significant reduction of commercial air flights for passengers in particular. And also, as the port would have told you before, these ships